Welcome back, guys. In today's video I wanted to go over, in my opinion, what I think are some red flags, or at least some general red flags, the things that I like to avoid when dealing with women here. This is not going to be an exact, it's not going to apply to all, but I do think that it's a good general baseline to follow when dealing with women here, when trying to identify what some red flags are. So starting off with number one, I'm going to say any kind of tattoos on the neck, and that's generally in this area. I'll throw some examples up on the screen here just for you guys to reference, but definitely huge red flag for me. I don't like it. I think it's ghetto, low class. None of the pretty upper class women here that I've seen have tattoos on their neck, so definitely something I would consider red flag number one. Going into red flag number two, that's going to be too many surgeries. In general, just those women's mind state are completely different. I want to say they're definitely a little damaged, so that would be another red flag for me. And I'm going to say, I guess I'll segue into this. If the girl looks too much like an influencer, is something that I would consider as a red flag. Too many pictures, like if you look at their social media, which you should always be asking for some type of social media just because it helps you get more recon, see a little bit more about how the girl moves and how, basically what they're posting is essentially what they're kind of trying to be like or influenced by. So if her IG is very curated in a way to where it looks like she's trying to be, mimic or copy an influencer, wouldn't deal with those type of girls. Also, I would say red flag number 3 or 4 would be if she has, I would say, hundreds of thousands of followers or just thousands of followers. Generally, those type of women have all kind of sponsor offers, or in general, they have a bunch of guys that's in their DM trying to talk to them. So definitely not the type of women that I would want to deal with. In the past, even when I've met them in person, I don't know, their personalities are just off. So followers, too many followers, and if their IGs are basically resembling influencers, I would say that's another one. Next red flag I would say would be if the girl has kids. Now, of course, not all women who have kids are going to be bad, but let me specify this a little bit more. So if a woman who has a kid is asking you for some type of money for a babysitter, huge red flag. Because in general in Latin America, most family members are the ones who usually will watch kids for their daughters, or they'll have cousins or something like that who will watch their kids for free. So they usually generally don't have to pay for babysitters. But in my opinion, what I think the hustle is here is that women like to say, hey, I need money for a babysitter, asking you, and what they're going to do is essentially pocket that money and then have you, or not have you, but have someone else watch their kid for free and just essentially keep that money. So if any woman, and when I've dealt with women in the past, I usually generally don't like to date women that have kids because I'm just not the type that want to financially be responsible for another man's kid, and that's usually every woman's dream scenario, is to either have 2 guys helping take care of her kid, or whatever you. So, but in general, when I have dealt with women who have kids just because they look good and I just want to hook up with them, I'm not interested in anything as far as relationships, they haven't asked me for money, and if they do, I usually cut them off. Now, huge important red flag here is going to be if you have a woman that is asking to come directly to your house for a first date, or in general, if a woman is asking to come to your house for a date, let's just say that's a red flag. If you're not the one who's initiating bringing the woman to the date, then yeah, it's definitely a red flag. Those are usually women that are just trying to rob you or drug you, because most normal Colombian women, they're not asking, they're never gonna try to invite themselves to your house. So definitely a huge red flag. I would say it's like 50 red flags if a girl is basically asking or suggesting that going to your house and drinking is as a first date, or in general as a date. So going into the next one, I would say that would be if you have a woman who is trying to tell you what her standard of date is. For example, if you say, hey, let's go meet for a coffee, or meet for ice cream, and you know, she gives you that kind of like feminist response of, oh, that's not an acceptable date, that's low effort, red flag, wouldn't deal with that. There are many women here in not only Medellin, Colombia, but in Colombia in general, that will be happy to go out with you on a coffee date or ice cream date. So don't let that, don't let those type of women, you know, dictate to you, oh, you need to take me out for dinner, or you need to pick me up, you need to do X, Y, Z in order to, you know, basically share time with me when you're the one paying for it. If you're the one paying for it, you should be planning it and where you go, what you do. So definitely don't deal with those type of women. Now, the next one, and that's gonna be if you have a type of woman that is always going on vacation or has a lot of vacation photos, i.e. Paris, Rome, you know, Santorini. From Medellin, Colombia to get to Europe, or let's just say Europe, or in general Brazil, it's at least $700–800 to $1,000 for a flight. Most of the women here cannot afford to travel like that. So, and I always ask myself this question: if some guy was willing to fly them out to that country, and you know, generally for me, if I'm really interested in a woman, I'm only flying her out because, you know, I really like her, I've been with her for some time, and I want to share time with her, you know, or give her some type of experience that she wouldn't normally get on her own. So also because I'm trying to make some type of imprint on her. So if these guys are flying these women out and they're now back single, or back in the streets, shall we say, why is that? There must be something really wrong with them if these guys are flying them out to places and spending this type of money to fly them out, and yet these women are still, you know, quote unquote single. So definitely a huge, I would say, red flag for me if I see women that have a lot of travel photos or a lot of experiences just because they can't afford them experiences. So they're probably dealing with a lot of different men for these experiences. So definitely when I see Dubai, that's like 50 red flags for me. For some reason, French men or men from Paris seem to be the biggest simps here, because almost, you know, I can, if you go through a dating app, you'll probably see at least 10 girls that have Eiffel Tower in their background. So definitely another red flag. So I forgot one. I wanted to make sure I added this one in. That's going to be overly sexualized photos. Now, if And what I mean by this is girls that have overly sexualized photos to where it's at a point to where it just looks like they're marketing themselves. It's very common, you'll see some girls with like bikini pictures here, whether it's at a pool or at the beach or something like that, but I'm talking about girls that have like lingerie pictures or pictures of bikinis but they're inside the house. Like sexualized photos like this, or very, you know, just trying to look overly sexualized, like basically as if they're marketing themselves. So I wanted to make sure I added this one in as well. I'm gonna say that's it for this video. As far as red flags, I can't think of any more. If I missed any, you guys put them in the comments. That way other guys can know. But I would say in general, those are my main red flags that I look for when I'm dealing with women here. Appreciate you guys watching. As always, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.